80% of us struggle with some kind of posture-related issue, with over 50% struggling with at least two on average. From lower back pain to knee pain to shoulder pain, the majority of us are plagued with something. As cyclists though, we're not the majority and are more likely fitter, stronger and a lot better looking than the average Joe. The trouble is, as good as cycling is for our overall fitness, the position we're in on our bikes, often for hours at a time, is very similar to the one we're in a lot of the day whilst at work for hours at a time. This leads to the tightening of certain muscle groups whilst others become weak, causing that back, neck and shoulder pain both on and off the bike. Today I want to take you through three very simple strategies that you can use as a cyclist and someone who works at a desk just like me to not only reduce those aches and pains and improve your general posture, but to also improve your position on the bike and take your riding to that next level. Do stay around, as strategy number 3 is probably the most underestimated and underrated of all. But strategy number 1 is to controversially, rather than worry about having the perfect desk setup, worry about how often you change the position you sit in. Unlike cycling, where it's obviously important to have a bike fit and have an optimised riding position, we have a little more freedom as to how we can sit whilst we're at the desk. What many don't realise is that sitting with perfect posture for 8 hours is going to lead to the exact same issues as sitting with bad posture for 8 hours. It's not the position that's the issue, it's the being in one position for a prolonged period of time. As I mentioned in the intro, this just then gets worse when we're in another similar sitting over hunched position on the bike when we're not at work. We need to be in that position on the bike, but we don't, at least not all the time, at the desk. So how can we get around this? Firstly, set a timer on your PC, phone or watch to change sitting positions every 45 minutes to an hour. Then decide on what positions you can use. If you're working from home, you'll have more options. If you're in the office, you're going to have fewer. You don't need a fancy standing desk. Of course, they're great, but standing isn't any better than sitting really. A standing desk just gives you more options to move between. You could work in different places around the house, at your normal desk, at the kitchen counter, at a dining table, on the floor, heck, even on the sofa. The key is to mix up your positions as much as you can throughout the day. In the office, you can do the same by using different surfaces in the canteen, having 1 or 2 different chairs you can use. But there's something really important to remember. Remember, as humans, we'll always take the easy option if it's there. We're designed by nature to rest and conserve energy and stay safe. That's why we've created things like Uber, Deliveroo, and things like escalators and e-bikes. If you have a super comfy office chair, you'll find it tricky to get out of it. I'm a little bit extreme, but I removed the arms and the back off my office chair as I found because it was there, I'd just veg out in it the whole day. You don't have to go that far obviously, but just be aware of our innate human preference for ease. Have those different sitting options available and remind yourself to take them. Your best posture is your next posture. You may be wondering why something like stretching some of those tight muscles wasn't strategy number 1, and that's because your aches and pains and stiff muscles aren't caused by a lack of stretching, they're caused by being in one position for a prolonged period of time, whether that's at the desk or on the bike. Get your workplace sitting positions nailed, then we can move on to strategy number 2, some simple, carefully selected stretches for those muscles that do become tight and weak from not only being sat at a desk all day, but also from riding too. And we're going to tackle stretching using a method you might not have used before. And it means that you don't have to do stretching every single day. Thank God. But first, do let me know in the comments down below, do you struggle with your posture? And as I mentioned, do stick around till the end, as implementing the third and final strategy will really make stretching things out that much easier. Stretching is something a lot of us find boring, and the trouble is, if you do what's just called passive stretching, holding a stretch and then relaxing into it, the benefits are pretty short-lived. What's more effective is strengthening muscles, but in a lengthened position. This provides us not only with longer lasting benefits, so we'd only maybe need to do it twice a week or so, but it can also further protect us from injury and build not only flexibility, but strength too. Often those tight muscles we have are not tight because they're in a shortened position all day, which they could be, but also because they're weak. Tightening them up is our brain's way of protecting them from stretching too far so that we pull something. Strengthening while stretching could be the answer. The first of my 2 favourite exercises is the Romanian deadlift. It's common that we have very tight hamstrings given our knees are in a 90-degree position for a lot of the day. This can limit our ability to lean forward on the bike, pulling on our back and things further up the chain. Start with your feet shoulder width apart with your toes pointing forwards, holding some weight in your hands if you have access to weights. If not, just relax your hands on your shoulders. Keeping the knees soft, hinge at the hips, pushing your bum back whilst keeping your back neutral and chest up. Lower down over about 3 seconds nice and slowly until you feel a nice stretch in the back of the hamstrings. Then fire back up over about 1 second, squeezing your glutes at the top. Exercise number 2 is brilliant at opening up the other side of the hips. Again, if we're sat at a desk all day and then when we're on the bike, our hips are often in a flex position which can cause our hip flexors and quads to become tight and weak. This exercise is called the natural leg extension, and it'll not only open up and strengthen the front of the hips, but also reduce the risk of things like knee pain, lower back pain, and boost your lower body strength for riding too. Start kneeling down on a cushion or a soft surface if this hurts your knees. And with your glutes and core squeezed, gently lean back as far as is comfortable over about 2 to 3 seconds, before then coming back up to the top over about a second. The most important thing here is that your hips, shoulders and knees are in one straight line. You can use things like bands to make this easier, as full body weight can be pretty tricky on this one, and if that's too hard still, you can bend at the hip instead and sit back on your feet as you go down. As with some other exercises though, the aim isn't to just increase weight over time as you get stronger, it's to get lower over time as your flexibility improves too. Of course, there are many more effective exercises out there, but completing these for 3 to 4 sets of 8 to 10 reps twice per week will get you off to a brilliant start when it comes to improving your flexibility, strength, posture and performance and position on the bike. Finally there is strategy number 3, and this is probably the most underrated strategy of all, but one of the most important. I love the phrase motion is lotion. The more we generally move throughout the day, the less likely we are to be stiff and immobile. A brilliant metric to measure this is to just track your step count with either your Garmin or another activity tracker, whatever it is you're using, or just your phone. Aiming for 7,000 steps a day as a minimum is a great place to start. Your riding and any gym work you do can then be added to this strong foundational base of steps that you've built. It sounds stupid, but taking small breaks throughout the day is key. A lap around the office, your block at home, a quick 10-minute stroll between meetings will all add up. 1,000 steps generally takes about 10 minutes of walking, so splitting that up throughout the day is key. Keeping moving throughout the day, which is our final strategy, will make stretching and strengthening that much easier. And hopping on the bike will feel like a breeze because you haven't been static and stiffening up all day long. As I mentioned in strategy number 1 though, we are designed to want to stay inactive, to rest and conserve energy. So whilst rest is obviously important at times, remind yourself to keep moving and take breaks throughout the day. You might have noticed throughout this video I've actually had a sloped shoulder and my neck's off towards one side. I actually picked up a niggle yesterday at my local karate class and pulled and tweaked my neck. So it does go to show that even though you might do all the things that I've mentioned today, sometimes we do just pick up those aches and pains and niggles, but the more we have a good strong foundation in terms of our posture, the quicker we'll get over them in the long run. But staying moving throughout the day, combined with switching up sitting postures and periodically stretching and strengthening, should really help to improve your posture overall, your mobility, your flexibility, and reduce those aches and pains, whilst improving your comfort and performance on the bike too. To release your back, hips, shoulders, and neck though, straight after a long ride, do check out my super effective 10-minute post-ride stretch right here. Ride strong, and I'll catch you in the next one.